I'm going to speak on compassion and forgiveness. I'd already given a much longer talk today, but because of some technical problem with the laptop, it crashed. So I feel that one should try and capture the essence of the talk at least, because it was a really good talk. I don't have the energy to do the full talk all over again. I'll just do the precis version. So the word compassion has two equivalents in Sanskrit. The first one is called Daya and the other is called Karuna. So I looked at this for a while because Sanskrit being Sanskrit, the nuances are very subtle. And I realized that Daya is more in terms of kindness. Daya is more in terms of being good and being nice and things like that. And Karuna is a sort of active intervention that we do to remove pain, sorrow, suffering, grief. It is a very important quality in Buddhism because the Bodhisattva is a person who can become a Buddha, but he refuses to enter Nirvana until every living being in the universe enters Nirvana before him. So it is out of his karuna, it is out of his compassion that he does so. So the concept of karuna is an interesting concept because it is very necessary for evolutionary consciousness. It is very, very, very necessary for human culture to endure. Cultures that are based on militaristic or tough guy principles or kill before we are killed normally come to a sticky end even if they live for a long time. It was what they famously said, that the Spartans created a soldier but the Athenians created a man. And I made the point also that there was this very famous and very unusual city called Hattusha, somewhere in what is today Turkey, which was a remote mountain fortress, and they were one of the strongest empires of the time. They signed peace treaties with the Egyptian pharaoh and people ruling in what is Iraq and Iran today. But they were a complete bunch of psychopaths. It seems so. I mean, it appears so. The one thing that you could never accuse them of, the one thing that you could never suspect them of was karuna, was compassion, was moving to remove the suffering and the pain of somebody else. So it was very interesting to me to realize that for evolutionary consciousness, for evolutionary spirituality, the aspect of karuna becomes very important. The aspect of consciously doing good becomes very important. It becomes a very vital part of one's sadhana, one's process. It becomes a very vital part of one's culture. That sense of I should do something to ameliorate the situation. I should bring in some extra effort. I should make some extra effort to fix this. Now, daya in that sense is a normal thing. When we see a kitten or we see a puppy, we all feel a little upsurge of love and sentiment, and we might make little kuchiku noises. But that's not normal. I mean, it appears foolish and it appears childish, but actually that's not childish. Children are equally capable of kicking a kitten as of petting it. William Golding's Lord of the Rings had had written about this whole devolution into animal savagery, because that is after all what we are, mammals, and mammals are essentially predators. And when they went to shoot the movie, the director tried a little social experiment. He let the children stay by themselves, and within the third day they were killing the pigs, almost as if it was the book. So Karuna, compassion, it is actually quite heartening for me to realize that Karuna or compassion is actually an aspect of mature psyches, or mature social stages, or mature emotional stages. That it is an aspect of adult consciousness, not of childishness and not of foolishness. Now, of course, today the Karuna has come to the state where it is almost like compulsory, and especially if you're a spiritual person, then whether you like it or not, it is sort of compulsory. Compassion has become the norm. I have many issues with that, but as a general principle, to do good, to help, to ameliorate pain and suffering, because Buddha had put dukkham at the centrality of the human existence, and to relieve dukkham is the greatest and most helpful thing. It is the thing that dissolves karma. So it was very clear for that. So compassion, in the sense, it should always, however, be a creative act on your part. It should never be something that is done because it is the social norm, because it is the rule, because that is what is expected of you, because I am a spiritual person and therefore I have to be kind even if it kills me. That normally ends in breakdowns or in violence. That sort of compulsory compassion is a very dangerous thing, and being a compassion coolie is even more dangerous. Carrying around other people's troubles and problems because one is spiritual and one can help, and those things are not recommended. Those things are certainly not recommended. They are not very helpful. But all of these practices are unfortunately common. Nevertheless, I stress again that the notion of empathy, because Karuna in the end is empathy. You can feel that I would also want a helping hand. I would also want sympathy. I would also want some kind of support. Were I in the position that I am currently seeing this other human being in, it is a very clear understanding on the part of mature people that we could end up one day in this kind of similar fix, and we need to, for our own sakes, for the sake of growing, for the sake of broadening and widening ourselves, we need to practice karuna. We need to have that understanding that people are caught in their circumstances, people are caught in their life situations, they are victims of their vasana samaskara. Now, all of this does not mean that you allow them to victimize you. It does not mean that you allow them to take advantage of you. Because we come to the next aspect of compassion. Compassion, as I have stated, is a very vital aspect of human social evolution, human spiritual evolution, and the way in which it normally is manifested, or at least most socially rewarded for manifesting, is the concept of forgiveness. If you forgive, it is regarded as a very laudable action, it is regarded as a very praiseworthy action. Now, while no doubt there is much to be said for that, there are certain issues, because you see, forgiveness is not exactly the concept as it exists in India. In India, the concept is Kshama, and Kshama has a lot to do with endurance, with not being provoked. People like Sri Rama, Yudhishthira, they were exemplars of Kshama. They would not retaliate in a violent manner. They would not retaliate in a vulgar manner. They would not overreact to provocation. Rama was consistently saying all the time that Ravana just has to accept his mistake and this can all be over. He did not, however, say that, oh, I will forgive you and pretend you did not do whatever wrong you did. I will come after you and I will punish you and I will kill you till you're dead. So we must not mistake Kshama as being some kind of free pass. We must not mistake forgiveness as some kind of free pass, which unfortunately it has got the connotation. It is almost like this bad has been done, I have forgiven, therefore we can all now act as if this wrong action, this bad action did not take place. But that is not how karma works. If there is an action, there is consequence. If you've done something bad, you will face that bad consequence. And setting yourself up as some kind of uh, morally superior person who can, from the mountaintop, pour out the grace of forgiveness onto somebody, it's useful. I mean, it's helpful. It might even make you feel better about yourself. But karma is karma and it has to be paid for. And certain things cannot be forgiven. It was very interesting today because we were having this discussion and there seems to be a cutoff point for this compassion and forgiveness. When an act of violence goes beyond certain boundaries, then there is no forgiveness. So massacres and rapes and things like that, suddenly we find that our compassion and forgiveness wells run dry. So I have always found this desire to forgive, or this pretense, not, I wouldn't say it's a pretense, probably people are sincere about it, that we are forgiving, but it comes from a lack of understanding of karma. Who are you? Who are you to say that the karma does not play out anymore? Can you take that karma onto yourself? Are you willing to take that karma onto yourself? Jesus would do that, which is why he could say, your sins are forgiven, but he would also add, go and sin no more. Today people are like, you should not be moralistic, you should not be judgmental. Jesus used to forgive, but he also used to say, don't do this again, don't do this sin again. When he was asked that the laws say that you should forgive your brother 7 times, but how many times should we actually forgive somebody who has wronged us? He said 70 times 7, which is 490 times, which still there is an upper limit. When the same question was asked to Krishna, he said, I have told Shishupala that I will forgive him 100 offenses against me, 101 the head goes off. And since I don't claim to be in their league, I have a rule of 3. You can offend me 3 times, after which, not that I will come and beat you up or retaliate or any such thing, but after that I will just remove you from my life. I will not have a person who is doing evil in my life. You have 3 chances, that's it. 3 strikes and you're out. Now this seems very cruel, and I get a lot of criticism over it because I'm a yogi and yogis are supposed to be compassionate glance, Karuna drishti, oceans of mercy and compassion, and like, you're mistaking us for the Sufi fakirs. we know that if we say or we act that, okay, the karma is not important, what has been done is not important, then it'll have to work out in our life, into our pranamya kosha, and the karma has to work out somewhere. Now sometimes because of certain reasons we might take that on, but most of the time, why should we? It is not our karma, why should we assume responsibility for it? Oh, you are compassionate. Yes, but I'm not stupid. You have gone and done something horrendous, and now because you're weeping what seems to be a few crocodile tears, I should take on that karma? What are you doing? See, repentance has a non-negotiable aspect to it, which is the sin cannot be repeated. If you keep repeating the sin, it is not repentance, it is an excuse. It is a way to get out of trouble with the other person. So when somebody is blatantly manipulating you, when somebody is blatantly violating personal dignity, I do not believe that forgiveness is an automatic aspect of consciousness or love that should flow from you. This expectation that you have to forgive or you're not a good person is an evil thing to say. It's a terrible thing to say because you're burdening people who are simply not ready to just come to that stage and say, let it go. Now, in yoga, they certainly say, don't retaliate, because while if evil has been done to you, you're allowed to retaliate, you will never retaliate in the exact measure. The sheer act, the sheer joy of retaliating will make you overdo it. Then you have set up a vicious circle, because now that other person can retaliate, then you have to retaliate. So the whole purpose is, and if you get into a passion, if you get into anger, that clouds your judgment, that gets you into wrong sort of action. So that is the reason why they say don't retaliate. But nowhere is it said that if you've done something wrong, just because somebody says. So the word Kshama for me has always been more about being the more evolved person, being the more accommodating or accepting or tolerant or just basically stable person, that we don't allow we don't allow the evil that is done to us to knock us off center. That is a very, very important distinction, and I feel that in this, it's very convenient for people to insist on compassion and forgiveness. Let me be very blunt about it. It is bullshit. Most of the time when people keep warbling about compassion and forgiveness, it is bullshit, because what they are saying is, we would like to misbehave and we don't want you to sit in judgment and we don't want to endure the consequences of our misbehavior. Be compassionate, be forgiving. That is misuse of very glorious terms, and I do not put up with that kind of nonsense. Like I said, I am not a fakir, I am a yogi, and yogis are hard cases. We always have been, always will be, because we know karma has to play out sometime or the other. Does that therefore mean one should dole out compassion only in very calculating doses? Not at all. One should be compassionate, one should have daya and karuna until the person consistently violates your care, your concern, your love, your karuna, your daya. If it is consistently done, and you have to find that number, I cannot tell you what that number is. I told you my number. 3. You get to offend me 3 times. After that, I will not have you in my life, and I don't care. Life is short. Lots of value can be contributed. I don't have time to deal with people who are not taking responsibility for themselves. Now, this offends a lot of people. I do dearly hope that you're offended. I wish to offend you. I do not have time for such nonsense. But if you're genuine, if you're sincere, I have all the time in the world for you. But I will not put up with nonsense. Life is short. So don't pull the compassion and forgiveness card on me. I will go on a case-by-case basis. I will be good, I will be compassionate to you until you prove to me that it is wasted. Now, I do not recommend this for everybody because my personality is such, it might not suit everybody. But in the end, everybody comes to this. Certain people, it's a waste of time. Certain people, compassion is not what they require. What they require is to be caught hold of and shaken like a dog shakes a rat. Then some sense rattles into place in their brains or in their psyche or whatever it is. Now, I do not recommend that either. Everybody has to find out what works. God has given us buddhi also. He has given us viveka and intelligence along with karuna. Why are we only operating from the heart? Why not occasionally from the mind? Or why not with the mind and the heart together? Where can I put this to maximum use? So this compulsory forgiveness, whenever I hear this, I just ask the simple, that girl in Delhi on the bus who was gang raped, are you going to forgive those people? And now they have nothing to say, because retaining honesty within themselves, they know that no, we are not going to forgive that. And I am very clear, not in hell, heaven or high water, never. Because whatever were the sociological reasons for what they did, in the end they chose to do such evil. And to just launch this kind of hot melted tub of chocolate of compassion and forgiveness over there is a stupid thing to do. Let me be very clear about it. That's not the way to approach these matters. Because I am very clear, compassion, Karuna is a vital aspect of human evolution. It is one of the greatest things that Indian culture has done, and the reason why we endure, because we have this sense of care. We don't manifest it very well, but it is there. The sense of empathy, the sense of compassion, and that is the only thing that has saved us. We've been going on for 6,000 years. So I would be the last person to say that Karuna is overrated. No, it is not. I am saying it is so valuable, don't hand it out for free. Don't hand it out and degrade it. Be sure that it is appreciated. Same too with Kshama. Do not allow people to think that because you have Kshama, you are a carpet and they can walk all over you. Now, these are normally not the pap that people expect. They expect some kind of Ganga flow of universal love and compassion and forgiveness. And yes, of course. Try, see how far you get with those things. If you want to become a target to the world, you're most welcome. Please don't waste my time, and please don't waste the time of people who are serious about evolutionary spirituality. Please don't waste the time of people who are serious about growing and transforming and helping others on the same path. Don't come with these boulders of sentiment and try to block us. That is Vignam, and we do not tolerate that. So, always maintain Kshama, always maintain Karuna, but most of all, please use your buddhi. Yes, Sarvam Shyamayam.